Here we are going to discuss about the topic object-oriented methodologies in object-oriented software engineering. In object-oriented methodologies, it is a set of methods and principles that signify a systematic way of developing a system using tools, techniques, processes, and procedures. Object-oriented methodologies include object-oriented analysis by Gordon Yourdon, object-oriented design by object-oriented modeling techniques by Rumba et al., Object-Oriented Software Engineering by Jacobson et al. The first methodology is Gordon methodology, which is popularly known as object-oriented analysis, and it was developed in the late 1980s. In OOA, an analysis model is developed and it consists of 5 steps. The first one is identification of classes and then identification of structures, then definition of subjects, definition of attributes, and definition of services or methods. In identification of classes and objects involving investigation of the application domain and the system's environment. The behavior of each object is found and this information is documented here. In identification of structures, identification of user and the whole part relationship is identified. This user relationship captures class inheritance and the whole part relationship captures the information about how an object is a part of another object. Each structure is classified into a subject. Attributes are the data members of the class. The attributes for each object are defined and which are in an appropriate level in the inheritance hierarchy. Defining services involves the identification of operations in a class. Also, it involves identification of interfaces among the objects through messages. Each message may contain parameters for communication. So here the figure 1.3 is an example for Gordon methodology. So in this, the example library management system which is taken. So in this, the member class attributes are member ID, photograph, name, na- and then the date of birth, phone, email, member date, and valid up to the date. And the messages which are considering add member, delete member, update member, and view member. And this library management system, there are 3 members. One is a student member, another one is a faculty member, and then employee. For the student member, the attributes are roll number, to which school they belong, and the program. And for faculty, the faculty ID and school has to be mentioned. And for employee, employee ID and the branch has to be mentioned. Then the second methodology is the Booch methodology. Here it is called as a object-oriented design and which was developed in the year 1991. The main aim of this OOD was to establish a base for the implementation of object-oriented systems. The methodology considered identification of interfaces at various levels. So this follows incremental and iterative life cycle. Methodology can be broadly divided into 2 processes. One is a macro process, another one is a in macro process is high level process that describes the activities to be followed by the development team throughout the life cycle. So the figure which shows the macro process of Booch methodology, which consists of establishment of requirements, construction of analysis model, design of architecture, evolution in the form of refinements, maintenance of delivered functionality. The requirements are established using context diagrams and prototypes. The outcomes of requirements phases core requirements of the system. Requirements capturing and understanding is done in the analysis phase. This phase consists of construction of use cases, identification and prioritization of risk. Then in the design phase, construction of architecture of the system, which is done and which involves identifying horizontal layers, mapping classes to subsystems, release planning, attaching risk identify in the analysis phase to releases. In the evolutionary phase, implementation of system and each release adds to the functionality of the system. Maintenance phase consists of post-deployment activities. Microprocess is a lower level process. The following recursive steps are followed in OOD microprocess. Identification of classes and objects, identification of semantics of classes and objects, identification of relationship among classes and objects, specification of interfaces and implementation of classes and the next methodology is Rumbo methodology. This focuses on analysis, design and implementation of the system. This is popularly known as object modeling technique, that is OMT, which was developed in the year 1990. OMT consists of four phases: analysis, system design, object design and implementation. And the analysis phase consisting of three submodels: the object model, which captures the static aspect of the system; dynamic model captures the behavioral aspects of the object models; functional model represents the functional aspects of the system in terms of operations defined in the classes. In object model, the requirements are stated in the problem statement. Relevant classes along with inheritance relationships are extracted from this problem statement. Dynamic model identifies states and events in the classes identified in object models. Functional model depicts the functionality of the system by creating data flow diagrams of the system in order to understand the processes. System design phase is a high level design is developed taking the implementation environment including DBMS and communication protocols into account. Object design phase is to define the objects in detail. The algorithms and operations of the objects are defined in this phase. New objects may be identified to represent the intermediate functionality. Implementation phase, the objects are implemented following coding standards and guidelines. Then the next methodology is Jacobson methodology. The above methodologies lack a comprehensive architecture to develop a software project. The Jacobson methodology is also known as object-oriented software engineering, consisting of five models and which was developed in the year 1999. The requirements model aims to gather software requirements. The analysis model is to produce ideal, robust and modifiable structure of an object. Design model refines the object keeping the implementation environment in mind. The implementation model implements the objects. The test model is to validate and verify the functionality of the system. The requirements model focuses on capturing functionalities of the system through use cases and actors and determining the interfaces among the use cases. Analysis model is an ideal model which is developed while not considering the implementation environment. This involves the identification of interface objects, database related objects, that is entity objects, and objects representing control between interface and database related objects, that is control objects. The objects are grouped into subsystems. Design model, the objects identified in the analysis model are refined to the actual implementation environment. So these objects are called blocks. Test models, uh, which focuses on the blocks are converted into modules in the implementation model, and finally the modules are integrated and tested in the test model. The summary: the object oriented analysis method lacks the design of interfaces and notation. The object oriented design method is stronger in design but weaker in analysis of the system. The object modeling technique method is stronger in the analysis part but weaker in the design part. The Jacobson methodology is stronger in behavioral areas as compared to the other areas. The next is the object oriented modeling. This is a way of constructing visual models based on real world objects. Modeling helps in understanding the problems, developing proper documents, and producing well designed programs. Modeling produces well understood requirements, robust designs, and high quality maintainable systems. The models must depict the various views of the system, and these models must be verified to check whether they capture the customer's requirement. After they represents the required details, these models may be transformed into source code. Due to the increase in object-oriented techniques and complexity of the software, various challenges are faced by the system designers. Modeling helps to visualize, organize, document, and understand complex relationships and produce well-designed systems. Three most popular methodologies are OOD, OMT, and OOSE. All these methods are combined into unified modeling language, that is UML. The UML was adopted by Object Management Group, that is OMG, in November 1997. UML models the static and dynamic aspects of the system. The static aspect of the system models the objects and relationships among the objects. Dynamic aspects of the system models the events and states used for interaction among objects over time. Thank you.